see. All those plans I made for myself, I got nobody else to lean on.
Welcome to everyone joining us to experience stories of resilience, hope, perseverance, and joy.
Move over to a sport chair, basketball wheelchair.
Category of Best Video are...
We love you guys.
You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin, and we are having a great day today because you know what? It's Jared Coleman's birthday week. Hey, where's your cake? Hey, you feel older, buddy? And also, speaking of a great week, we have Shep Hyken on the show today. He is a Chief Amazement Officer. I love that name. It excites us all of us. And he's a customer service expert. And everyone that starts a business or entrepreneurs, business owners, this is one of the biggest topics that we need to talk about because customer service, that's how you get your customers coming back time and time again, how they're going to talk about you to others, and how you're going to get their repeat business, which is what we all want to do. So Shep, welcome back to America Trends.
Hey, Mary, it is great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we love having you on the show. And, so I want to talk about, well, first of all, I want to say and remind our audience you're a New York Times bestseller and Wall Street Journal bestselling author, 8 books you have out there, and you're the creator of the Customer Focus. So let's talk a little bit about that, the customer focus, because it seems kind of obvious, but I don't know that it is, right?
Right. Well, the Customer Focus is actually the name of our training program, which is an online, on-demand, video-based training program. Imagine me sitting across from you as often as you want me to sit across from you, till you're sick of me telling you about how to create that great experience. But my belief is customer focus doesn't mean you do everything that's perfectly right for the customer. It's really you do as much as you can, but at the same time, you keep the customer in consideration when you make every decision. You may have to raise prices. Customers aren't going to be happy with that, but if you do it for the right reason and you do it the right way, customers will understand and they'll continue to do business with you.
I agree. You're making me think. We utilize Slack here at our office, and I recently just saw a thing that came through that said, prices are increasing, and it's not going to be a lot, but it was a pop-up on my screen, and it was also I got an email, and it was like, it's not happening tomorrow, it's happening in some time from now, but they wanted to very clearly tell me it was happening, tell me why it was happening, talk about the history of their price increase, how that hasn't been, and they don't really charge that much anyway. So I really loved how they were very much upfront about everything and honest about what they were doing. And I totally get it because prices are increasing everywhere. So I get it. And I don't know if that's part of what you talk about with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. When it's price transparency, if you will. There was a company that was forced to raise prices even before all of this inflation and even pre-COVID. It was just before COVID. What happened is, you may remember that there was a tax that was incurred by anybody importing goods and services from foreign countries. As a result, he had to raise his prices on his bikes. He was selling e-bikes. But he was very clear to the customer that he was raising the prices, why he was raising them, and he ensured them he was making no additional profit as a result of this price increase. And you know what happened? He got a flood of letters thanking him, and guess what? His business actually went up as a result of that transparency.
Well, I do think that customers want transparency, they want honesty. And, I saw this note here that, customers are smarter than ever.
They are.
Do you think they're also more high maintenance than ever?
They are.
And more demanding than ever? All the things, right?
I was looking at the stats, and every year we do a trends report, and this year, why customers don't come back. And what's interesting is, actually, let me go back. It was the page before that how good behavior is rewarded and bad behavior has consequences. And what's interesting is that almost in every case, good behavior has, for example, I do more business with the company. That's more than last year. I shop and buy more often, more than last year. I tell my friends more than last year. But if it's bad behavior, I tell my friends and family more than they did last year. What's happening is people are taking action and responsibility. The only thing that didn't go up this year compared to last year was I do nothing. Last year, if something good happened, 34% would do nothing, and this year only 24%. Means they're taking action on their great experience, and the same thing is true. Last year, 32% did nothing. This year, less than that, 24%, which means, again, people are taking action. They're deciding not to do business with you, decided to tell other people about it. And you know what? When they complain, they're actually comparing you to the best service they've had from anybody. So you're no longer being compared to a direct competitor. You're being compared to Amazon, Nordstrom, any other brand, Ritz-Carlton, Ace Hardware, whatever the top brands are for great service. That's who customers compare you to, regardless of the type of business you're in.
Well, and I feel like there was this time period where maybe there was a little bit of, we'll give them a pass because it was COVID and their workforce was down, but I feel like we're emerging from the passes.
We are far beyond that.
And you mentioned Nordstrom, which is interesting that you mentioned that, because they have been the king of customer service forever, since they first came to be years and years ago. I remember, always just knowing that they were so reputable in the space of customer service. However, during COVID, it was terrible. And, during those years, at least that was my experience and people that I've talked to, that because there was nobody around, and I just thought, oh my gosh, they're not the same. However, I just went back recently and had the best customer service I've had in years. So I thought, okay, they probably suffered during the COVID time, but they are putting their focus back into that because that's what made them who they are.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of companies during the, I guess if you want to call it the peak COVID era, were struggling to keep people working, make it safe for everybody. They had to take different precautions. X number of people were allowed in a store or in a restaurant, which meant people were being turned away. People had to adapt and adopt the way new business was being taken care of. I believe we're kind of shifting back to where we were before. However, we've learned, we know what convenience is. We know what it's like now. I mean, before I used to order food to be delivered and it would just get delivered in a half hour, 45 minutes. Now I have to pay for that delivery. And by the way, I'm happy to do it. So the pandemic accelerated certain expectations and certain conveniences and certain ways that companies are doing business. It's not like they came up with something brand new. But what happened as a result, and to your point, things went different for a while, right at the peak of COVID, and then they started to come back. And hopefully people are getting back to understanding what has to happen. Now, we have this thing they term the Great Resignation, which I believe is not a good term. People didn't resign from work, although people retire all the time, sure. But the people that have left work didn't leave the workforce. They just switched to a better job, somebody that offered something better. That's becoming a problem because certain businesses are struggling to keep good employees because they aren't doing what's necessary to keep those people. Then you have supply chain issues. It was just announced that I believe the truckers might go on strike. And if that happens, even if they're on strike for 3 or 4 days, it takes a month to 2 months to rebound from that supply chain break, if you will. So we'll be seeing some interesting things happening in the near future. And then you add inflation on top of it.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so what is a business?
Perfect storm of bad.
Right. So at this point, business owners coming to you, an entrepreneur, and they're trying to start their new startup and get some new employees and make their customers happy. And it's like, you want to make your employees happy. Then that in turn will hopefully make your customers happy because they'll be happy to be at work and they'll provide good customer service. But it's like, where does someone start? Where do they prioritize?
Well, what's happening on the inside of an organization is felt on the outside by the customer. So you definitely need to start there, and you need to be very aware of what your culture is. My suggestion, and we might have covered this when you and I talked on one of the prior episodes, but there's this quick 6-step process I'll take you through. You need to define what your culture is going to look like. So define your customer experience vision. The Ritz-Carlton, for example, is we're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. 9 words. Number 2, communicate it often. Number 3, train everybody to it, not just the front line. Service isn't about just the front line. It's not a department. It's a philosophy. Number 4, leadership has to be the role model. You can't treat people one way and expect them to go out and treat the customer a different way. So be congruent there. Number 5, defend the culture. If somebody or a department or a group gets out of alignment, get them back into alignment with your service
I'm going to
vision.
put you on hold for the next 3. Did you say there's 6 or 8? How many more we got? We got
There's
a couple
only
more?
one more, and that's celebrate it all.
Oh, we're going to talk about that right after this break. We are here with Shep Hyken, Chief Amazement Officer. You're watching America Trends. We're going to be right back right after this quick break.